Hello, Namaskar viewers. I am Sanjeev Pandya welcoming you to this week's episode of the Business Talk with AJ. The show is brought to you by Science CPA Services, a professional accounting firm with multiple locations in the state of New Jersey, can assist you with your personal taxes as well as corporate taxes matter, and they can also guide you in the right direction. If you ever need a virtual CEO, CFO, bookkeeping services, or need help with IRS tax audit, Science CPA Services knowledgeable staff and on-hand experienced CPAs can certainly help you out. Give them a call at 908-380-6876 or visit sciencecpaservices.com. The Business Talk with AJ, the weekly show, brings you all the things that you really need to know about businesses, and this week's show is going to be also very interesting. With that note, I'd like to welcome Mr. AJ Kumar, CPA, MBA with Science CPA Services for over 25 years to the show. AJ, good to have you.
Thank you, Sanjeevji. Thank you for the kind introduction, please.
Sure. And now, AJ and everybody, we all know election is over and Donald J. Trump has won the election and he's going to be the 47th president of United States of America. What does it mean for businesses? Donald Trump's victory, is it going to be very, very prosperous for United States of America? How are the businesses going to be looking into this during his presidency for the next 4 years? And much more. Let's find out from Mr. AJ.
Absolutely, Sanjeevji. So even though we know President-elect Trump has won the election, and we know Republican Party has generally been good for small business owners. But of course, there are mixed opinions. There are a lot of people who are absolutely not liking it, and there are a lot of people who are extremely thrilled about it. But this show is not about politics. This show is knowing what we know. What can we do from tax perspective for our small business? So here, in the interest of time, we have selected 10 main things that as a small business owner, as an individual, you should consider before the year end to make sure you can create a difference to your tax liability. So if you can start maybe with the income tax rate. Everybody is concerned about income tax rate.
We can start with income tax rate, but let's bring in one fact here, that Donald Trump, when he was the president from 2016 to 2020, he had given a tax cuts across the board. That tax cut is going to be expiring end of 2025.
Not all of them.
Okay.
There are a lot of tax cuts, and you're 100% right. In my practice time, I have not seen tax rates going down. President Trump at that time was the first one, at least in my practice time, when I saw tax rates going down. So that being said, we are expecting something similar, or the minimum, we are not expecting the rates to go up. If you remember the election promises, Kamala Harris, Vice President, was promising the tax rates to go back up to the same level what they used to be prior to Trump's time, meaning 39.6%. Now the highest income tax rate is 37%. It used to be 39.6%.
Right.
Trump has promised to bring it down from 37% to 35%. But even if that's not possible, even if that does not happen, we know for a fact that it's not going back up to 39.6%, meaning the same president who brought the tax rate down is not going to be taking the tax rate up again.
Okay. So he's not going to bring the tax rate up. Does it mean that he may continue this tax cut into another next 3-4 years?
That was the election promise.
Okay.
Or at least one of the promise was the highest income tax rate is going to go down from 37% to 35%. And please remember, this 2% last time is worth millions of dollars. Meaning, if you are in the right income tax bracket, even for one person, we are talking about thousands of dollars. So the rates going down from 39.6, what used to be the highest tax rate, to 37%. In this time, we are expecting the 37% tax rate to be going down to 35%, which will be an amazing thing.
Okay, interesting. So now for the individual tax rate, let's just talk about the things that viewers should really know, or taxpayers should really know. Any other information that you can share with individual tax rate?
Absolutely. So there are 7 different type of tax rate. The tax rates depends on higher the income tax bracket you fall in. But please remember, if you are in 37% income tax bracket, that does not mean all your income is taxed at 37%. It only means the highest income is taxed at 37%. So first, so much income is 10%, then 12%, 20%, 22%. So there are brackets. So you happen to be in 37% only if the income is above that threshold. That does not mean all your income is taxed at 37% at that time. We are expecting the highest income tax rate, and of course every single tax rate will go down a lot of time. An effective measure, even when you don't want to change the tax rate, is to change the threshold. So right now, let's say if your income over 600,000, and I'm just rounding up the number, if your income over 600,000 is at 37%, how about we make it 800,000? So the effective way to reduce the taxes is not just reducing the tax rate, but also to increase the threshold for such tax bracket.
Now, that reminds me to ask you a question. Federal deficit is over $1 trillion. Do you think Donald Trump will look into tax brackets and different tax, strategies to figure out where to bring in more revenue to pay down as much as possible the deficit?
I'm sure about that. There is going to be a holistic approach, and there are people much smarter than me, better educated than me, and a team of those people will be looking at how to bring the deficit down, how to still bring the tax rate down. But one of the promises when Trump was going for election, one of the promise was that we'll reduce the tax, the deficit, reduce the tax. And how do you do it? How do you reduce the tax? Reducing the tax means lesser collection for the government.
Correct.
Then how do you reduce the deficit?
The deficit.
And one of the promise was we'll stop wasting money, meaning a lot of money is being sent out to foreign countries without naming the names. A lot of money is going out. That does not have to be. We have no obligation to be sending all this money out. If you can stop just part of it, I'm not saying everything has to be stopped. And again, there are a lot more educated people, lot more experienced people who will be sitting together as a team to see how the deficit should be brought down. But I know that the promise was the tax rates are going to go down, and I truly believe they're not going up.
Okay.
The same president brought it down from 39.6 to 37. So I know even if he's not taking from 37 to 35, at least he's not going to increase the tax rate, which we were expecting the other government, Democratic government, to go back to 39.6%.
Okay, good point. Next, corporate tax rates. He had given a big break to corporations last time when he was the president.
Sanjeev, I'm glad you reminded me. So corporate tax rate, the highest tax rate used to be 35%. Now, in the Trump era, 4 years ago, the tax rates were reduced to 21%, flat. It used to be more income you make, higher the taxes you pay. So the tax rates were a ladder structure going up to 35%. Then in Tax Cut and Jobs Act in 2017, in Trump time, the tax rates were reduced to 21%, flat tax rate for all the corporation. As a part of the election promise, Trump has promised that he'll bring the tax rate down from 21% to 15% for all the corporations that have the manufacturing done in US. So it's a way to promote the local economy.
Made in USA.
Made in USA.
Exactly, yes.
So if you have made in USA tag around it, your tax rates could be as low as 15%. That's an amazing thing. 6% for a corporate tax rate cut could bring a lot of money back to the economy.
Yep, and then a lot of jobs and everything else, prosperity. Okay, let's look into capital gains tax.
Absolutely. So capital gain tax currently have three tax rate, 0%, 15%, and 20%. So the highest capital gain tax rate, and we are talking about long-term capital gain. Please understand the capital gain can be of two types, short-term and long-term. Short-term capital gain is nothing but your regular income tax rate. Whatever income tax bracket you fall in, that's your tax rate when you have short-term capital gain. So when we are generally talking about the capital gain tax rate, we are referring to long-term capital gain. There are three income tax brackets, 0%, 15%, and 20% as a part of the promise that we had. And please understand, before I say it, I want to remind you, it may not happen on day one. It may not happen in year one. It may take some time. So when you do this whole tax planning, be aware of it, that a lot of these changes takes a lot of time, lot of thinking, lot of planning, lot of calculation. You have to go through certain levels of approval. So a lot of these things may not be changing on day one. But what you need to know, now you know which government is coming in. Now you know what their election promises were. Now you know it's the same government that had increased the estate tax limit from 5 million to 10 million. Right now the estate tax limit is 13.61 million for individual. For a family, 27.2 million of assets can be transferred at no estate tax, no taxes,
Amazing.
which was scheduled to go down to 7 million if everything expires on December 31st, 2025, and more than likely it would have gone down if we did not have the same government. Now, knowing it's the same government that had increased the limit on the first place, they wouldn't let it expire, they wouldn't let it go down. It does not look good for the political party to have their own changes expiring. So they will come up with some formula. Why is it important for you? If you have an estate, if your net worth is in that range, you should start thinking about the estate planning, tax planning around it. If we did not know, a lot of people were thinking about creating the trust, creating the estate. Now it may not be as urgent for you, depending on how much income you have. If your income is under $10 million, see how old you are, how much income you are expecting to grow. Do you really need a trust? Do you really need the estate planning? So think from all those perspectives, knowing which government increased the limit is the same government coming back in, it's not going to go down.
Well, then let me ask you a question before we go into the break quickly, right? Isn't it one of the reasons that Americans have given strong mandate to Donald Trump to come back into the power because he can work on these tax brackets, keep the same, or even do better for the American economy?
No, I wouldn't say it. I think tax is only one aspect to this whole equation, whole puzzle. When Trump was there, he did a lot of good things for the country, for the small business. Again, I'm a tax guy, I'm a finance guy. From a tax finance perspective, he did a lot of good things. But based on how he behaved, based on how he projected himself, a lot of people did not appreciate it. A lot of people did not like it. And this is my opinion. But after seeing the other side, after seeing the second government, now people are thinking, oh, that guy is better.
Exactly.
And now I think it's not just a tax angle to it. There are a lot of things that goes.
No, I know that. This is one of them. I'm not saying this is the only angle.
Well,
no, but this is one of them, because obviously wealthy people would like to be wealthy, and then corporations would like to bring in more employees.
It's not about wealthy people being wealthy. See, even Kamala Harris promised that she will not be increasing taxes for people who are making less than $400,000. It's not about wealth. In general, even the COVID time, people were making more money than what they are making now. People were getting free PPP loan, not once, twice. People got EIDL.
But there was a difference in it. COVID was a once in a century.
It takes a lot of commitment.
Okay.
It takes government power to influence those things.
Sure. Okay, with that note, we're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back after these messages and more information coming your way regarding these businesses. Stay tuned. Welcome back to the second half of the Business Talk with AJ. This weekly show brings you all the latest that you need to know about businesses. And of course, tax is the big angle when it comes to Business Talk. And the show is brought to you by Science CPA Services, which is a tax accounting firm, which is one of the highly respected CPA firms in the New Jersey. Wherever you are in the country, you can contact them at 908-380-6876 for any taxes matter. They will assist you. Their website is sciencecpaservices.com. In case if you have just joined us, we started the show with the note that Donald Trump has defeated Kamala Harris in this year's election to be the next president of the United States of America. What does it mean for businesses, and what does it mean for tax strategies? Tax cuts is not obviously for discussion, but what could happen with the taxes? So now we're going to continue our conversation, and we're going to go to Social Security. This has been a hot issue. In the last 4 years, there were talks about Social Security, but back then even Republicans didn't have a majority, and they kind of put the talk down, saying that, let's wait, let's not do anything with Social Security, let's see.
Absolutely, and you have to know why Social Security is a hot topic. Because people who are getting the Social Security, most of them are on fixed income. They are the people who have worked all their life, now they are surviving based on fixed income. They don't have a way to cope up with the inflation. If you just look at the last 4 years, the gas prices have increased by 55%. Rent in some areas have increased by more than 100%. If you are on social security, how do you cope up with all these inflation, all these increasing expenses? So social security has always been a hard topic, or more to say, taxes on social security has always been a hard topic. So a lot of people don't know, depending on how much other income you have, your social security income can be taxable. More than likely, if social security is the only income you have, it's not taxable. But depending on how much interest income you have, how much dividend income you have, how much other income you have, how much rental income you have, social security or part of social security income can be taxable. One of the election promise that was made by Republican Party
Correct.
was that the social security income will be an exempt income. It doesn't matter how much other income you have. Your social security income will not count towards your taxable income.
Would that be the first time that coming out from Washington, no tax on social security?
It has been promised many times.
Many times, but then
It has never been implemented
And
as
this
such.
time it could happen because listen, Donald Trump is going to have majority in the Congress. He's going to have majority in the Senate, right?
It can happen. You are 100% right. See, I tell you one example. When Trump came in the power last time around, and when people started getting free money or easy loans, I did not believe it. In my practice time, I had never seen government giving free money. But now, knowing what we know, I believe all these promises can be achieved. Social security can be an exempt income from taxes. Let's see how it goes.
If that happens, that would be great. The other great thing it could happen that Donald Trump has promised during his campaign, no taxes on the tips. Remember the
Absolutely.
hospitality workers and the restaurant workers,
Absolutely.
they're
Please
going
think
to
about
have...
it. As much as we want to blame that rich people will keep getting richer, poor people will keep. But who is getting the tips? How many millionaires, billionaires you know working in the restaurant getting tips? So when we talk about no tax on the tips, we are not talking about millionaires here. We're not talking rich people getting richer.
Lower middle class.
We are talking about people
Lower
who are
middle
working
class.
in the
Yes,
restaurant,
yes.
people who are serving you.
Hourly wages people.
Hourly wages people.
Yes.
So if they don't have to pay taxes, all the good reasons for the economy to grow. If those people have money, if everybody has money,
Correct.
but it's not about richer people getting richer and the poorer getting poorer. Tips, taxes on tips is a real thing. They
Yeah.
consider taxable income. Tips is a taxable income. If we can avoid taxes on tips, it'll be a good thing.
All right, next one is child tax credit. That is going to be also good.
Absolutely. So everybody knows if you have children, you know how expensive can it be to have children. So it used to be much lower. In the last time around, they increased it up to $3,000. It used to be flat. Now they have limits up to 6 years old, from 6 to 19 and so on. Now the talk is to have the credit increased to $5,000. We have to see the details. We don't know the details if they are going to be age based or if this is going to be family based or per child, but it's a tax credit. What's important here is, especially if you have children, it's not going to lower your tax liability. It's a credit, $5,000 tax credit given to you. Right now the $3,000 that we have, part of it is refundable and part of it is non-refundable. So we are talking about this $5,000 credit to be refundable, meaning if you don't owe anything, you have children, file the taxes, here is your $5,000. That's refundable tax credit. But again, there are a lot of minute details around it: age, refundable, non-refundable. There are so many equations, variables around it. We still have to see how it goes. But the promise was $5,000 refundable per child tax credit.
All right, that's interesting. That is going to be a good one. Okay, let's go with the automobile loan interest.
So the intent is to make these loans easier. So right now, if you don't have an excellent credit history, getting loans, start with the auto loan, start with the mortgage. Look at the interest rate that we have seen in the mortgage interest rate, probably the highest ever in last 20 or so year. So the intent is to make sure people who need the auto, who need the mortgage, more people can afford living in a home, more people can afford buying an automobile. So that's why there is a special focus on automobile loan, on mortgage, to make sure people can afford, or poor people or people who do not have the excellent credit history or a lot of money to bring 20% down payment, they can still buy an automobile, they can still buy a home.
Okay, very interesting. Now, talk about home. I just want to bring you to the fact, Fed has decreased, Fed has cut down 25 basis points today, this week it happened, right? So this is the second cut for this year. First it was 50 basis points and today it was 25 basis points. Even though after election, Fed said we need to cut this down to stabilize, inflation and everything else. Now, last time when Fed cut down 50 basis points, it didn't make much of a difference on the mortgage rates, AJ, as you know that.
Right.
With 25 basis points further cut down, I don't know how much difference it's going to make or not.
If that was the only fact, it probably wouldn't, not much. But now we're in a different world altogether. Now we know in January we have a Republican government coming in. I can bet on it that in January, in the next Fed meeting, they are expecting another rate cut.
Yes.
So the mortgage rates are going to go down with all the optimism. You don't trust me? Look at the stock market for a second. What has happened in last 3 days, last 4 days? The stock market has gone multiple percent up, 3% up.
Amazing, yes.
So that shows the enthusiasm. That shows how people are believing. The stock market is based on the expectation. What's going to happen tomorrow? Not based on the history.
Yes.
So a lot of people are expecting business-oriented results, business-favored results. That's why the stock market is booming up. Fed has reduced the rate, and I'm sure in January Fed will reduce the rate again. So when we talk about the mortgage interest, just 25 basis cut will not affect the mortgage as
No,
much.
I know that. It's a mentality that whenever Fed cuts down the rate, then mortgage rates go down.
More so political reasons.
Okay, fine. Now we have only one last topic to cover, AJ, as we got a little less than 2 minutes. Trump has been saying about, millionaires living abroad and filing tax returns in the USA. Are they going to see any changes in their tax brackets?
I'm sure there will be.
Okay.
The intent is, as we say, made in India. The intent is to make it made in USA. Made in USA. So there are a lot of taxes that we are expecting. The details are not out yet and may not be out in the near future, may take 6 months, a year. But the intent is for people to invest more money into the local economy. So a lot of people living abroad, they have a very comfy life, and the best part is right now, for first $120,000, they don't have to pay any taxes. Things will change for the betterment. But when you change things, any change you take, it's not good for everybody. It's good for some, it's not good for others.
You can make everybody happy.
It's not possible.
You really can make everybody
it's not possible,
happy, yes.
right? So when we talk about the foreigners, millionaires living abroad, is everything going to go in their favor? Probably not. But if they have intentions to grow the country, to do local things, local manufacturing, I'm sure things will be better.
All right. With that note, we'd like to add one thing, that we're in 2024. Don't expect to see any changes when you file this year's tax return next year. Come 2025, when Donald J. Trump takes the oath of the office on January 20th, 2025, we'll start seeing some changes. If not in 2025, then 2026. You need to give them a 1 or 2 years.
Absolutely.
But it will happen. That's the topmost priority. With that note, we come to an end of this week's show. AJ, thank you so very much for your information on this. This is the really crucial information that you should make a note of it, and we're happy to bring that to you. Once again, the show is brought to you by Science CPA Services, CPA firm in New Jersey. You can call them at 908-380-6876 or visit sciencecpaservices.com. Until we meet again, same place, same time, I am Sanjeev Pandya, wishing you all happy and the tax-free days ahead. So long.
Thank you.